Very good. All right. So officially, good people, good morning and welcome to another day of English 1510. All right. Oh, I was thinking we were off next week, but it's after the week after next. It was like that quick, I forgot. But next week, right? So next week we won't be meeting collectively. All right. Instead of us all meeting together, I will be seeing you individually in 10-minute increments to discuss your narrative drafts. All right. Your narrative draft should be in right now. If it's not in yet, make sure you get that in ASAP. I do plan to read them over the weekend. And by the time we meet, you'll have your paperback in your assignment folder, and then we'll go over it together. All right. So you can ask me any questions about, whatever feedback I left on your paper, or if you just have questions about, how to continue building your paper, or, just the steps we need to take for revision for your essay. Now, if you look on our D2L page, right, you'll see a new message. Yeah, it should be live now. I said to go live at 8 o'clock. So I have this message, narrative essay conferences, Tuesday and Thursday of next week. And you can read the message, but if you click where it says here, and I actually need, so I think one person has signed up so far, but if we could, while we're here now, could at least one person sign up so I could just see if this is working properly. So you can just, where it says conferences will take place via Zoom, and you can sign up here. Just click here, and it's going to take you to. I use a site called Sign Up Genius. Oh yeah, Samaya. Okay, I use a site Sign Up Genius, and it just takes you. Once you click here, you can just click sign up, and then submit and sign up. And I don't think, yeah, just put your name in there. All right, I'm just going to do it as an example. Okay, how do I spell my name? Here we go. You don't have to put your email address in there. All right, so let's see. And then I'm going to delete myself, so if anybody wants that time slot, they can have it. I just have to sign back in as an administrator. Let's see, I'll do that now. All right. So now, oh, also make sure you're signing up. I do have two of these open right now, because I'm meeting with my other 1510. So make sure you, okay, cool. Thanks, Marvin. All right, so it works, man. It works. All right, well, I get rid of myself. So I'm very don't want to get rid of myself. All right, I'll figure it out. I don't want to waste too much time doing that. Okay. So now, folks, oh yes, nice, very good. So there's Tuesday and Thursday. So if you can't get yourself in here on Tuesday, you can always sign up for Thursday. All right, now I do want to. Oh, never mind. Let me go back. So if anybody wants this this 8:40 slot, it's available. I just deleted myself. So, yeah. All right. So what I'll do is I'm gonna send a link out to everyone that has signed up for their day, but the conferences I'll start at 8:30, but you'll only need to sign up or sign in at your time. So if you signed up at 9, Marvin, even though the link will say 8:30, you just have to sign in at 9. All right, and that's for anybody. Just sign in for your conference. All right, and then the most important part of that is to get your paper in first, though, if you haven't gotten it in. I haven't checked the assignment folders for this class yet, but if you still need to get your paper uploaded, get it in there, because If I don't have your paper, excuse me.
Professor Norwood.
Yes.
Samalake, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so it's not going to be late because the people that handed it in on Tuesday at 8:30. So there's extra time to hand it in, or I mean, do you give a couple days, like so there's no late penalty for handing it in today?
No, I'm just saying if you have not turned it in, turn it in, because like
Got it.
anything's better than not turning in an assignment, whether it's late
Okay.
or yeah. So now get your paper in if you haven't submitted it yet.
Got it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm trying. Because never mind. Let me be quiet.
Get your paper in if it's not in. All right. All right, and then sign up for a conference. And what I was saying is, you know, if you don't submit a paper, or even if you submit your paper the day of our conference, that's going to be cutting it kind of close. So I really won't have time to read it. And that's really why, like, I don't really sweat deadlines are important, but for me, it's not about points or anything like that. It's about, you know, giving yourself time to get feedback and then act on it. Right. So if your paper's late, you know, there's no guarantee that it's gonna get read, you know, by the time we meet. So, right. But I said all that to say, get your paper in. Okay? Get your paper in, and then sign up for a conference, and then remember your time slot, and then show up. All right. Like if you miss your conference, don't just go back to Sign Up Genius and then, you know, choose another slot, because what I do sometimes is I start filling in like empty slots with students from different classes. So a slot may appear to be free, but somebody else might already be in there. And again, for my folks who just joined us, if you look on D2L, right, conferences will take place via Zoom, and you can sign up here, click here. And then, oh yeah. Okay. Medalia, you're doubling down on the conferences.
I didn't realize that it went on there.
Okay. Which one do you want? Because I could take you off of one of these.
Just keep me at the 10-10.
Okay.
Please.
Cool. Right. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, Magdalia.
Magdalia. Okay. Cool. All right, so now you're officially at 10-10. Let's see what we got here. All right, very good. Very good. Somebody even took that first slot at 8:30. Okay, early birds.
Okay. How do you do? Can you do this for me, or I have to do it myself?
No, you gotta do it yourself. From D2L, Amalake.
Mm-hmm.
If you look in our the message, or excuse me, if you look in the announcement where it says conferences will take place via Zoom and you can sign up here, just click here.
Okay.
If you click here, it's gonna take you here, right? And then you can just click sign up for whatever slot you want and follow the path.
Okie dokie.
All right, get yourself in there. Get yourself in there, man, and let's let's talk about what we have to talk about. I'm very much looking forward to reading your drafts, all right, and giving you all some feedback and discussing your drafts with you. All right. Yeah, it's no need for apprehension, man. I say nice things about people's papers while offering constructive criticism. Right. But today, I just wanted us to talk a little bit about revision. All right, because that's what your job is going to be like once you get your paper back and you review the feedback that I have given you, I always encourage my students to take the initiative when it comes to revision. And what I mean by that is once you get the feedback, you know, of course, I want you to go over it. I want you to take all the commentary and the suggestions under consideration or into consideration. But I think the main thing that I want my students to understand about revision is that it's a process that involves more than fixing, right? And when I say it involves more than fixing, I mean just, you know, you have to go beyond looking at whatever
I don't mind because I don't have it on video.
you have to like go beyond, you know, whatever I have drawn your attention to. So don't, when you get your paper back, what I'm saying is don't just go through it and say, okay, Norwood told me to change this, Norwood told me to change that. And that's, you know, I'm done now. All right. That's, like I said, that's fixing, that's not revising. So when you're going back over your paper, okay, I want us to start in the book. You know, we don't even need a book today. Right? When you're going back over your own paper, and you can actually start this process before you get your draft back from me. All right. The content that I'm looking at, it is on D2L, and it's in this revising narrative module, and it's just these slides at the end, this revision 1510. All right. But even if you don't want to open it on your computer, you can look on with me. All right. So revision and editing, right? And I think I've said this before in this class. If not, it was in another class. I've just been in the revision frame of mind this week. All right. When you're looking back at your own paper, okay, first thing you're looking at is content. Okay. Content. And then I think just on for us, I think we can start out with the basic questions, right? You know, is my paper 3 pages?
Yeah.
Is my paper 3 pages? All right. Okay, that's the first thing you can look for. And the reason you're asking yourself that question you're asking yourself, like, do you need to add more content to your essay, right? To hit that 3-page benchmark. And the same thing, like if your paper is beyond 5 pages, you're going to be asking yourself, okay, what needs to be cut? What needs to be cut from this paper? And when you get your paper back from me, you know, if there's material that needs to be cut, you know, maybe you'll just see the question, you know, do you really need this material? Okay. Things that need to be cut are like, you know, distracting material, paragraphs that go off topic, right? Or even content within paragraphs that go off topic, that goes off topic. All right. So look at your paper. Okay. Read it back to yourself, right? Preferably out loud. Okay. One thing about reading your paper back to yourself, right? Try not to read it as the writer. Try to read it as if you are a member of your audience. Okay, meaning try to separate yourself from what you write, because you know, in our own minds, in our own thinking, everything we write, you know, makes sense because we understand the connections we're making. Right? Especially with a narrative, you know, we're discussing an experience, you know, we were there. So we may think to ourselves like, oh, you know, they understand, you know, they'll get it, right? Because I get it. But you have to think that, you know, you are there. Okay. And an acronym, you know, I leave on papers a lot is DARK. DARK. It just means don't assume reader knows. Don't assume your reader knows what you know. All right. So if you're describing an experience, you know, really describe it. You know, use your power of descriptive language. Like we can't, we can't insert images into our papers. And I'm chuckling a little bit because one of my students from my other class did that. All right, so we can't use images, right, to show our reader what we're talking about. So all we have left is our words. Okay, so you're looking at the content of your paper. All right, and you're doing an honest assessment. All right, you're doing an honest assessment, meaning like you're asking yourself, you know, what could be added to this paper? Where can I be more descriptive? Where can I add more details? Okay, how can I show my reader what I'm talking about as opposed to just telling them what I'm talking about? All right, and then for this paper, I think we can ask ourselves specifically, you know, did I discuss an experience, or did I kind of talk about my belief just from this general place and why this belief is important to me? That's cool, you know, for your reflection. And even you may, you know, that's okay in a rough draft. But I think, you know, as we move forward with this thing, one of the most important aspects of this essay is that you should be discussing an experience or a series of interconnected experiences. All right. So when you're looking back at your own paper, and again, even though you haven't received feedback from me just yet, you can start this process. All right. You're also going to be checking for organization. All right. Organize your paper, right? Even though, and I think I may have said this last week, right? But even though all of your papers are different, okay, you're going to be discussing different experiences, you have different beliefs, and you have different writing styles. As I will start to learn more, you know, as I read more of your work. But one thing that, or there's a couple things that like all of your papers should have in common. And when it comes to organization, every paper should have an introduction paragraph, right? An introduction paragraph where the belief statement is clearly, you know, clearly communicated. All right. For these essays, our belief statement, you know, I believe in the power of love, or I believe in the power of humor. I believe that everything happens for a reason. You know, I believe that everybody has the power to rise to their fullest potential. That was a lot. All right, whatever your belief is, that's going to serve as the thesis statement for this essay. All right. And in a traditional sense, you would place your thesis statement at the end of your introduction. But as I've been saying, you know, over the last couple of weeks, for these essays, you have a little bit of freedom as far as where your thesis statement is placed. So you can actually lead with your thesis statement, meaning it could be the first line of your essay, right? I believe in the rejuvenating power of nature. Maybe that's your first line. That's cool, okay? But somewhere in your introduction, be sure that your belief is clear to your audience, all right? And again, that goes back to the point I just made about, you know, putting yourself in your audience's shoes, right? So make sure that belief is clear. And, you know, try to say it as clearly as possible. You don't have to make it fancy, okay? You don't have to use, you know, big words or an overly complicated sentence. Just say it. Say it, man. Make it plain. Okay. So think about how you're gonna revise your intro, or better yet, when you're looking back at your intro, you're asking yourself, right? Did I capture my reader's attention? Okay. Did I capture my reader's attention? Because that's our job, you know, when we first start, right? Get their attention, right? Another thing to keep in mind is that your title is your first attention grabber. Okay. So I don't care what you called your rough draft. Like if you called it narrative rough draft, that's okay. All right. But for your revised draft, you know, try to think of a title. Okay. Try to think of a title that, you know, captures your reader's attention. I know a lot of them on the This I Believe website were just called This I Believe, but don't call yours this, I believe. Man. That's already been used. Okay, think of something original. All right. And then after your intro, you're gonna have your body paragraphs. Okay. Make sure the body of your essay is broken down into paragraphs. Okay. Like when do you start a new paragraph? Like you're doing the body of your essay. You're looking back, it's like, man, this is a long paragraph, right? When do you break it up? Because if you've had me before, you know I don't give like a predetermined number of sentences for like the length of a paragraph, 5 to 7 or 3 to 5 or whatever. So when do you start a new paragraph? When do you think? You can put in the chat or you can just unmute yourself and say it.
When there's a new thought,
Yeah,
when you want to introduce a new thought.
yeah, you say
Right?
it. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
New idea, right?
New idea.
Thought.
Okay.
Okay. When you have a new idea, thank you, Carmen, as well. All right. So new idea, new paragraph. Also for narratives, if there's like a change in scenery, or if you're entering like a new phase of your narrative, like if one paragraph is about, how you made it through like senior year, maybe the next paragraph begins with a transitional phrase, right? All right. Didn't work. Okay. So when I say a transitional phrase, I mean just a phrase that kind of marks the passage of time. All right. So maybe this is the beginning of a new paragraph, right? Because in one paragraph, you were in high school. Yeah, no, it's fine. You can. Aaron, you can start with I believe. Absolutely. This would be what I'm showing you now. This is an example of like a body paragraph. All right. So in your intro, maybe it is. Maybe you do begin like this. Okay. I before E, except after C. All right. So maybe that's the first line of your essay. Last essay. All right, Aaron, I don't understand this. Like the last essay?
Because,
Yeah, you gotta unmute yourself.
can you hear me now?
No, I can hear you, but you're very faint.
Can you hear me?
Are you at work, man? Trying to sneak in? Okay.
No.
Let me turn you up on my end though.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can a little bit. Let me get closer. Okay, go ahead.
You know what? Wait, let me get off of let me hold on a second.
Now you just muted yourself.
All right.
Okay, there we go. Wow. Okay, let me turn you down some now. Okay,
Well,
now
I meant the last essay when you said that this, I believe, was the original essay for the first one. We weren't supposed to copy it. I thought that's how we were supposed to start our essay.
meaning with your belief statement.
Yes.
Oh no, yeah, that's fine for this essay. Like if
Okay.
you started something like this, like I believe in whatever, that's cool for this essay. That's actually perfect for this essay.
No, not this one. You were speaking earlier, you were speaking about we weren't supposed to copy the essay that you gave us the example of,
Oh yeah, yeah.
where
yeah.
it began with this, I believe.
Uh-huh.
I thought we were supposed to start the essay saying this, I believe.
Oh, no, that's fine. You know, for if that's your rough draft, we can, that's okay. We can adjust that. That's no problem.
Okay,
All right. Yeah. No, that's cool.
sorry for the confusion.
No, that's fine. And then we're going over these revision strategies right now. And hopefully, you know, in this discussion, you are hearing things that you're like your essay comes to mind. So you're thinking like, you know what, do I have enough content? So hopefully we are asking ourselves those questions, but at the same time, you know, they're rough drafts, right? They're works in progress, and we're going to continue working on them. So whatever you did in that first draft, it's, you know, it's just our foundation. It's our foundation to build on. So revision, you know, it involves adding, taking things away, moving things around, looking at word choice and all of that. So whatever you did on your rough draft, you know, don't sweat it too much. Okay, don't sweat it too much. But I think like after you've given yourself some time to like take a rest or take a breath or take a break or whatever, when it's time to go back into your essay, the revision process, you know, often involves making like, sometimes it involves making wholesale changes to your essay. Other times it just involves adjustments. But what I'm saying, you know, with all of this is, you know, although I am going to give you strategies for revision and I am going to make suggestions for you, you're in the driver's seat, right? So like you have to take ownership, you know, of this process of revision. So that's what I said before, when it's about more than fixing, or it's about more than, you know, looking at what your instructor or your tutor or whoever, it's about more than just acting on their suggestions. It's about, you know, really re-examining your paper, or really taking this process of revision, you know, quite literally. Like when we put re in front of vision, it means to see again. So we're going to look at our papers again. All right. And then, okay, as I was saying, once I finished high school, you know, it was time to start college. So this paragraph may be about academic. Whatever. So the point I'm making is this: even though narratives don't always have, you know, definitive topic sentences in each paragraph, um, when you look back at your paragraphs, just make sure every sentence is kind of moving in the same direction, right? And let's say you flesh out this paragraph, right? You fully fleshed out this paragraph in more detail, and then your very next paragraph, again, as Amalake and Carmen told us, you know, we're switching, we're moving on to a new thought, or moving on to a new idea, or a new phase of our narrative. All right. All right. And then you would just keep going. All right. After struggling through my freshman years, realized it was time to get my stuff together. So this paragraph will be about you getting your stuff together. All right. And so on and so forth. So start a new paragraph when you start discussing a new phase of your narrative, or maybe you're discussing the same thing, but you just want to give your reader a moment to pause. Okay. Break it down for them. Break it down. Okay. So every essay is going to have an intro, every essay is going to have body paragraphs, and then every essay is going to have a conclusion, right? The conclusion, you don't want to introduce any new material. Really, you just want to wrap up, maybe you can reiterate your belief, all right? Or, whatever. Just wrap up and leave your reader with a sense of closure. If you remember last week, that example that we saw about the student, finding love, right? Crossing some international boundaries, for romance, right? All right. But that narrative brought the reader full circle, meaning like it ended how it started. All right. And I think yours doesn't have to be like that, but I do think just like that essay wrapped up nicely. Like it didn't leave us as readers wanting more. Unless we were saying like, are they still together? Right. Just things like that. All right. All right. But outside of that, like you don't want your reader to be thinking, that this is an incomplete narrative. Meaning, what happened? All right. Like you don't want them to be asking those kinds of questions. Okay. So when you're looking back over your essay, make sure it has a clear beginning, middle, and end, or a clear introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Okay. Wrap it up, man. Wrap it up. All right. The next two kind of go together, expression of ideas and clarity. All right. Just make sure your reader, understands what you're saying. All right. Whether it's you using language they understand. And what I mean is, sometimes we might be using language that's specific to a field, right? If we're nurses, or if we're in the military, or whatever. Okay, maybe we're using acronyms that our reader doesn't understand. Maybe we're using jargon, that only people with a specific set of training, would understand. All right, so make sure we're being clear. Also, clarity could refer back to details, right? What did you mean there? Okay. Sometimes I have a comment on your essay, be clear here. Okay, be clear here. What did you mean? Explain, things like that. And then if we take it back to our intro, as I was saying before, just make sure your belief statement is clear. All right. And these are really the things I'll be looking at when I look at your papers. Okay. And then responding to the assignment, that just means did you do what was asked of you? Okay. Did you communicate this experience, to your audience? Did you share this experience to your audience? Okay. The essays on the This I Believe website, even though they, like, a lot of them don't fit into the traditional paper format, even though like most of them, if you break them down and put them back together, like you can see the intro, or you can see what could be an intro, body paragraphs, conclusion. But one thing we can take from those essays is, all of them discuss specific experiences. All right. So when you're asking yourself, have I responded to the assignment? That's the one thing you're going to ask yourself, right? Did I include an experience here, right? An experience with concrete details. Okay. Have I effectively recreated this experience for my reading? Or, am I on the way to doing that? And, after I revise, I will have effectively recreated this experience, for my readers. Now, right? What we went over, these items in the revision category, these are called higher order concerns. You don't have to remember that, but they're called higher order concerns because we do them first. Because it doesn't matter, how well you spelled everything, how your paper checks out grammatically. None of that matters if the content isn't there, if it's not organized, if the ideas aren't being expressed clearly, if you didn't respond to the assignment. So that's why we address the big ideas first, and then we get into this grammar, these editing. We look at these editing items, right? Grammar, spelling, punctuation, capitalization, word choice. Okay, all important. But again, we do those last because sometimes though, when we're looking at that stuff and when we're nitpicking our own paper, it can interfere with the revision process. So right now, right, we're just focusing on the big ideas. Now, if you want to start catching some of the stuff in the editing category, you can, but at this moment, it's not our focus. Okay, but it is coming and it is important. All right. Okay. This is kind of a redundancy. Okay. Now, these are questions that I want you to ask yourself, you know, as you take ownership of this revision process. You know, when it's all said and done, your name goes on this paper, right? And ultimately, you know, you're the one, you know, who decides what changes are going to be made to your paper. I can only offer you suggestions and guidance, but you know, you eventually, right, you're going to be, you know, doing this, you know, on your own. So you got to be in the driver's seat of this process. Okay. Scoot you guys over a little bit. There we go. Here's Master Yoda. Okay. Always gives good advice. Okay, Master Yoda, Dr. Seuss, and the Peanuts. Teach you everything you need to know about life. All right. Does your narrative make a clear point? We aren't sharing our stories just for the sake of telling stories. Okay. Although, you know, with narration, there's always an aspect of entertainment or sharing, right? But we're sharing with a purpose. And really our purpose is just to communicate why a belief we hold is so sacred to us. That's our point. Okay. Again, we're not trying to convince others to believe like we believe. We're not being critical of other beliefs, right? We're not talking about what everybody else is doing. You know, we're focusing on what I believe or what you believe. All right. So think about that. Does your narrative make a clear point? Right. And you know, that question begins with, have I clearly stated my belief? Right. Does your essay effectively recreate your experience for your readers, or are there places where I can be more? Should be where you can be more. I gotta keep my point of view consistent. All right. Are there places where I can be more descriptive or add more detail? And really, you know, I will suggest, or I will say, you know, perhaps you can add more detail here. Sometimes I ask specific questions. But you know, think about that yourself. And this, you know, if your essay if your rough draft came up a bit short, right? That's one of the questions that you can focus on. Okay. Are there places where I could be more descriptive or add more detail? Right. When we think back, you know, over that example that we looked at, where, you know, the reader talks about, you know, breaking up with someone, and, you know, he describes those feelings, right? And I remember, and hopefully you guys remember, just the conflicted emotions, like being happy, but also being kind of down because, you know, this sometimes, you know, the end of things just is sad, even though you might know the end is coming, or, you know, the end of things may be necessary, but makes it no less sad. Okay. So if you're, you know, if you're saying that you were sad about something, you know, really describe that. And the flip side is if you were happy about something, right? If you were joyful, if this is a joyful experience, you know, walking across that stage, right? Getting married, okay? The birth of a child, whatever, earning your first paycheck, okay? You know, really, really, really struggling with the class, and then you ended up, you know, getting an A out of it, all right? Because you worked so hard, right? Describe that feeling of validation, you know, that comes like, yeah, man, my work paid off. Okay, my work paid off, right? So really think about that. And then, you know, you're also describing things to the best of your ability, right? Ability that, you know, will continue to sharpen, you know, throughout this class, all right? And then this is the hard question, okay? Adding stuff, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's easier, or it can be easier than cutting material. And I say that because, you know, sometimes we put our all into what we write, okay? We could really, it's like, yeah, man, this paragraph is great. Okay, I really like it. You know, I really put, you know, my maximum effort into this paragraph. All right. But then as you read over your paper in its entirety, oh man, you know what? As great as this paragraph is, or as much as I like this paragraph, it doesn't really fit, you know, within the grand scheme of my essay. Okay. And I'm saying a paragraph, but it could just be a couple sentences that need to be cut. All right. Like sometimes you'll get an essay back from me, and you know, you'll see a section that looks like that. All right. And that's not necessarily saying like get rid of this. That's more or less me asking you the question, do you need this? Right. And if you think you need it, keep it. It's your paper. Right. Now sometimes me using the strike through is, you know, asking you to get rid of this. But if that's the case, like if it is something that I'm like really suggesting that you get rid of, I'll put a note next to it, you know, like, you know, this could distract your reader from, you know, the main idea you're trying to get across to them. All right. But for the most part, you know, I want you to make these decisions about what goes and what stays in your paper. Okay. Have I consistently written with my audience in mind, or am I expecting them to make connections that I'm making in my own mind as the author? Okay. Am I expecting them to understand instead of using my words to ensure they understand? Ensure to the best of your ability, because there's no guarantee that your reader is going to understand what you write, no matter how clear you make it. Okay. Am I using words they understand? Right. I just had a conversation with the student about CAP. Okay. And you know, he's like, you know, for some people, you know, CAP is, you know, it's what you wear in your head, or it's what you put on the top of a bottle. Okay. But for others, you know, CAP, it just means you're embellishing, or you're blurring the lines of truth, or you're stretching the truth, is what I'm saying. Okay. But we can't expect our reader to understand that, right? Just because that's how we speak, or that's just because you may speak like that when you're with your peers, or if you're in your comfort zone. Okay. So don't expect your reader, you know, to understand things that you understand. Some things are generational, right? Some things are you know, specific to a certain demographics, right? Certain things we say, you know, only people who use Twitter regularly would know. Okay. So we can't expect our readers to make these connections, right? So, you know, I always stress to my students, like, say what you mean. Say what you mean. Say what you mean as clearly as possible. Okay. Have I consistently written with my audience in mind? Right. Try to have someone else read your paper other than me, because I'm going to read your papers. All right. And I think we went over this in this class, but if not, let me just make sure. If you want an additional reader for your paper, you all have access to one free. Okay, you can just come down here to NetTutor. And what I did, I just went to, like, I'm not in our class D2L. I'm actually on D2L's homepage. This is what you see when you first sign in. You can just go here, open NetTutor. All right, come down to the Writing Center. And drop off a paper, and you can upload your paper and give feedback. Okay. If you want to do that, it may take them up to 48 hours to return your paper. So just be sure, you know, you're giving yourself enough time to go back over whatever feedback you get and make whatever, make whatever changes you want to make. So NetTutor is a great service. Students who've used it in the past have given me good feedback about it. And it is free, so, you know, take advantage. Take advantage. Or you can just read your paper out loud. Okay. Are my paragraphs connected to my purpose, or do I have paragraphs in my paper that just kind of help me reach 3 pages? Okay. Am I fluffing my paper up with statements like this? All right, so we just wasted part of our paper not really saying anything. Okay. Like if you have statements like this in your rough drafts, like many people have beliefs. Okay, everyone has a belief. You know, beliefs are important. Beliefs have been around since since the beginning of time. All right, or the beginning of human history. Okay, don't waste space in your paper saying stuff like that. Okay, like I've seen paragraphs, not in this class because I haven't read your drafts yet, but I just finished a batch from one of my other classes. Just paragraphs that don't really say anything. Okay, try to get rid of stuff like that if you know that's part of your essay. All right, you know this isn't really telling your reader anything, right? Like why do you need to tell your reader that beliefs are important and everybody has one? Okay, or that there are many different beliefs. Like why? Your reader knows that. Okay, I just said don't assume your reader knows, but it's a pretty safe assumption. Okay, that everybody has a belief. Okay, kids know that, man. All right, so are my paragraphs connected to my purpose in logical order? Our logical order for this paper is chronological order, meaning like you're sharing your narrative in like the sequence that it happened, you know, what happened first, then what happened, and so on and so forth. Have I included adequate supporting details? I know that's a redundancy. Like I'm fully aware that I have it on there twice because it's such an important aspect of this. And then this last question, which to me is, you know, not the most important, but one of the most important questions on here. Am I content with my essay? It's yours. Okay, it's yours. Right now, there's a deadline for this. So the answer to that question be, yeah, I'm content, but you know, if there was more time, I would have done this, this, and that. And that's cool. You're gonna find you may say that about many, you know, things that you write. You know, whether it's an essay for a class, whether it's a transfer essay, a cover letter, resume, whatever. Okay. But, you know, the world we live in, you know, we have deadlines. So, you know, if you got to get your application in, or your transfer essay has to be in by, you know, March 24th, you know, am I content with this, you know, in the time that I had? Okay. Now, okay, there's just a few more of these slides, and then I'll show you one more thing, and then we'll call it class. All right, I just skipped over a slide. All right. Okay, coherence. Coherence is really just about the flow of a paragraph and how each sentence or how each idea kind of fits together. Okay, like in a paragraph, there shouldn't be abrupt or jarring changes in direction. And there should be some connection between your ideas. Like if you have a string of short and choppy sentences, a question you can ask yourself is how you can make that flow, you know, a little better. Okay. No, I talk about coherence in all of my classes too, whether it's 1060, 1510, 1520. And it's just something that comes with practice. All right. And really one of your best teachers for paragraph coherence is reading. Okay, because reading you just absorb. You're absorbing the information that you're reading, of course, but you're also absorbing strategies, formatting, okay, organization, things like that. After my sophomore year of college, I had to drop out for a second time. I did not have the money to pay off my balance. The school would not let me back in until I paid $3,600. I went home, I got a job, I came back to school with a new appreciation for my education. Okay, now technically this paragraph is okay. But it lacks certain features that make it coherent. Okay, if we look at the revised version, after my sophomore year of college, I had to drop out for a second time because I did not have the money to pay off my $3,600 balance. Okay, as a result is a transition. Okay, transition denoting cause and effect. I didn't have the money as a result. Okay, I didn't have the money as the cause. I had to return home for a semester. That's the effect. Okay, as a result, consequently, subsequently, I had to return home for a semester. All right, transitional phrase marking the passage of time while I was at home. I got a job. Also, you can achieve coherence by filling in, you know, gaps of information. While I was at home, I got a job at Little Caesars during the week. And on the weekends, I worked as a cart attendant at Rouge Park Golf Course. Another transitional phrase, after 3 months of working and saving. So it's showing your reader, right? Or using your words to connect your points, to connect your sentences, okay? Where here in the original version, we say, I got a job, I came back to school, you know, with a new appreciation for my education. All right, but if we just insert this little phrase, after 3 months of working and saving, okay, that creates a stronger connection between those ideas, right? I had earned enough to pay off my balance and begin my junior year. This time around, I appreciated my education much more because I was paying with my own money. Okay. Transitions are great for achieving coherence. Okay, I'm not going to go over all these, but these are just some of the most common transitions, and the big bold stuff is like the relationship, you know, that you want to show between two ideas or your ideas. So here, like if we go down to cause and effect, like we want to show a causal relationship, the transitions, you know, that you will commonly see, you know, thus, therefore, as a result, consequently, subsequently. All right. Now, okay, we're getting close to the last couple things. All right. Hopefully we're all still alive and well out there. Okay. Finally, okay, you want to develop your paragraphs with concrete details. Okay. When I say concrete details, I mean the Popeye spicy chicken sandwich, right? When we think back to the example that we looked at last week, right? Concrete details are details that your reader can visualize. Okay. Details that show your reader what you mean, as opposed to telling them. Like this, we look at two paragraphs here, and the original, you know, we told the reader a lot. But in the revised version, we showed them. Okay. My first year of college did not go too well. I had a lot going on, and that affected my grades. I see that phrase a lot. I had a lot going on. Okay. Your reader's thinking like, well, what did you have going on? Okay. What is a lot? All right. I was reprimanded, and I soon realized that I need to get my act together. So you told them. Now show them. The first semester at Michigan State did not go too well. Okay, now we're talking because, oh, okay, Michigan State, right? Now we're being specific. You know, whether that's Michigan State, OCC, right? You know, Western Michigan, okay? Baker College, all right? I was working full-time, going to school full-time, and I had a pretty active social life. That's what you meant when you said you had a lot going on. Trying to balance my classes, my job, and keeping up with my friends resulted in me earning a 1.5 GPA at the end of the semester. That's what you meant, okay, by your grades being affected. Consequently, there's our transition. I was placed on academic probation, which meant I would have to increase my GPA in order to stay at state. Oh, that's what you meant. This reprimand would be my wake-up call that I needed to reorganize my priorities. Okay. So as you go from draft number 1 to draft number 2, think about, or better yet, ask yourself, did I show my reader what I mean, or did I merely just tell them? Okay, and showing involves concrete details. Showing involves examples. Okay, showing involves descriptive language. Okay. When you think about showing, you know, again, just think of, you know, I keep going back to this, just think of the spicy chicken sandwich. Okay. Think about that image, right? Or better yet, think about a ladybug to a hungry rat. You know, just to reference, you know, Kike's essay that we looked at last week. All right. Think about phrases like that. You know, he calls himself a vampire, right? So think about how you can use your words, you know, to help your reader visualize, you know, what you're saying. Okay. Now, right. There's some more slides, but the remaining slides are more about editing. All right. So if you want to just get some editing questions in there, you can. All right. But Okay, this is the last thing. Last 5 things. All right, no, last couple things. Okay, I'm just gonna the slides I was just looking at, they're in this revising narrative module, as is this document, this revising drafts. And this is just some pointers for revising. All right, what does it mean? Blah, 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 blah. We covered all that. Here we go. Steps. Okay. How do I get started, Professor Norwood? Okay. Take a break, man. When did you get your papers were due Tuesday? Okay. Maybe you just been sitting on it, you know, for a day or so. All right. But if you can, give yourself a break before you go back into your paper. Right? And this for any paper, not just for this class. It's the same with like college transfer essays, or if you have to do like an essay in support of a scholarship that you're applying for. Try to get started on that stuff as early as possible so you can afford to take breaks. Okay. The Roman poet Horace thought one should wait 9 years, but that's a bit much. So don't wait 9 years before you get started on your essay. Okay, like you track me down 9 years from now. So here's my draft, Professor Norwood. Okay. What year is it? That'll be 2031.
Are you adding more pages to the final draft?
You can,
Okay.
as long as you don't go over 5 pages. Right.
No,
But yeah,
I think I don't need. I'm almost to 3, like this much. You'll see it.
okay, yeah,
I'm
that's
like
cool.
almost, but I just don't. I don't know. You'll read it and you'll give me your honest opinion, because I just don't know how to.
How to get it to 3?
You'll see.
Yeah, that's fine.
No. You'll see, because it's like because my statement is, your inner voice should drown out, any other opinion.
Yeah.
So I just used certain, why I felt that way, beginning, middle, and you'll see. I just hope I never wrote a paper like this before, so this is
Cool.
it was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and I this could apply to many of you as well. I think with anything we do, the first time is always kind of rough. But I would say, just think of, and this is what I say to students who always say, I'm not that good at writing or whatever, but think about something that you're really good at right now. Okay, anything, right? There's a good
Anything?
chance.
No, kidding.
Say what? What'd you say?
Never mind.
Yeah, there's a good chance when you first started to do that thing, you weren't as good as you are now. Right? So writing is just something that comes with it's not like some mystical talent or mystical skill. Right? Are there people with maybe a natural gift for wordplay? Sure. Right? But most of us have to work at it. And most of us have to practice. Even the writers we consider as like to be great writers, they didn't just wake up like that. There's a quote I used to share from Toni Morrison, one of my favorite writers, and one of the most renowned writers of our generation. Or yeah, she just passed recently, right? Wrote many good books. Some have been turned into movies. Beloved. The Bluest Eye wasn't a movie, but it's actually one of my favorite books. But Toni Morrison, she was all about practice, or she was all about maybe the first draft of a manuscript is not going to be this thing that she could say that she's proud of. All right, but she doesn't let that stop her, or she didn't let that stop her because her thinking was there's always going to be another draft. right? There's always going to be an opportunity for me to change. You know, so part of this writing process is, you know, getting beyond. And I think, Amalake, what you just said about, you know, your inner voice, you know, drowning out outside thoughts or outside opinions, I think that's a good strategy to, that's a good mindset, you know, to apply to writing. But I think it's most effective when we have positive self-talk, right? Like if when our internal conversation is, you know, positive and reaffirming. All right.
Okay, that's somewhere in there. I got that. Because I started off why? Because, you know, comparison. I was constantly comparing myself to others, and then I was like, what am I doing? And then I was like, you know what? But, you know, I talk about therapy and all of that, and then you're right, because therapy helped to build up my self-esteem, which helped to make me drown out others because I'm speaking to myself positively now. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I still take advice, but it doesn't trump mine. Like I'll still take bits and pieces. Okay, that sounds, but
Yeah.
it's at the end, in the end, it's me. So,
Yeah, and then I think part of our growth, you know, as human beings, you know, as we develop wisdom, you know, as we get older, it is, you know, determining when to follow advice or when to trust your instincts,
yeah.
right? When to trust that internal voice, because, you know, sometimes people do give us advice, you know, sometimes it's advice we don't want. It's like unsolicited advice. But on the other hand, you know, some people do give us really good advice, right?
Right.
And then sometimes the advice is just to trust yourself, right?
Okay, let me put that in my paper.
Okay. Yes, put it in your paper. All right. Now, okay, ask yourself what you really think about your paper, right? Positive self-talk, but also honest self-talk. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then, you know, don't tinker, right? It's what I was saying before about the big ideas we're focusing on. You know, you can fix all the punctuation and the capitalization. You can always go back and fix that stuff. All right. But at this stage, we're just concerned with the big ideas. Okay. And then where it says, I know I skipped one, but it says think honestly about your thesis. For us, I would say just think honestly about your belief state. Is it clear? Is it clear, man? Is it clear? Okay. And then I'm just gonna skip. No, I'm not asking anybody to rewrite the paper. Okay. I kind of have mixed feelings about this because some people, and this may be your process, some people will write a paragraph and look back at it as, you know, I didn't like that, and scrap the whole thing or start changing the paragraph. I think it's sometimes a more effective strategy to wait till you're done with the whole thing to start looking back at it. When you're first writing a draft, just go, man, just go. Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And here's why I'm of mixed feelings about it. I couldn't have said it better myself. Another danger to revising as you go is that you may short circuit your creativity. Meaning, like, you get so caught up in trying to make this paragraph into the perfect paragraph that you kind of forget that this paragraph is part of a whole. Right? So I think it's more effective to kind of just wait till you're done and look back at the whole thing. Oh yeah, what? Read your paper out loud. See, here's the thing, man. I know what I'm talking about sometimes, right? All right. So there is some logic to reading your paper out loud. All right. This is just a nice handout. All right, that really puts things like in a very, you know, very concise way. Puts things in a very concise concise document. All right. And that's also in this revising narrative module. Okay. And then finally, this is the last thing, I think. All right. So your drafts should already be in. So you have 2 assignments to handle by the time we see each other again. The first assignment, many of you have already done. Okay. So your first assignment is to sign up for a conference. Oh, okay. Well, if you want it Tuesday, all booked up. Okay, so Thursday is going to be the day.
My birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
25.
43.
Okay,
Hey.
sounds close. The only old as you feel, man. And you know, the older I get,
I feel 21. Like,
There you
let's
go.
go. I'm ready. I'm ready.
there you go, man. There you go. Okay, there you go.
Doing everything I wanted to do. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
Don't let your age stop you. If anyone's out there past 40.
Oh no, man. It's it's said that you don't really hit your stride till like the late 30s. You don't really become like a full-blown adult. Like I'm still like some days I walk around my house and I was like, man, I can't believe they let me have a house. I can't believe I have a house, man. Now look at my kid. I was like, man, I can't believe somebody trusts me with a kid. All right.
Mm.
So I guess what I'm saying is like it's like even like I'll be 45 next month, but it's still like hard to sometimes it's like, man, I can't believe I'm an adult. Can't believe I'm an adult, man. One thing about being an adult, man, it's expensive. Everything costs money. All right. So the first thing is sign up for a conference. Sign up for a conference. Okay, if you haven't signed up, get in there Thursday because Tuesday's all booked up. Okay, Tuesday's all booked up. All right. And the second assignment is a discussion post. Okay. And it's really you thinking about your own writing. So there's no right or wrong answers to this. Okay. It's just kind of you taking inventory of your, the way you put stuff down on paper. All right. So think about this. What's your typical writing environment? Like, is it quiet? Is it noisy? Right? Meaning like, do you prefer silence or do you need some kind of background noise? Right? Soft music. Like, do you need, just people coming and going? Like, I know some people go to like Starbucks or something, or even our library on the Southfield campus. It's sometimes it can get kind of busy with people just coming and going. And some people, take inspiration from that. And, some people are like, man, shut up. Okay, stop moving. Sit down, be still, whatever. All right. Is it organized or is it cluttered? Right? Cluttered, could apply to your physical environment or it could apply to your digital environment. Like if you look at my screen now, I have a few tabs open. All right. I've been using all these tabs, but sometimes if we're being honest, maybe one of those tabs is Amazon or something like that. Okay. And then, do you feel your environment helps or hinders your writing? And answer that honestly, right? And then, do you type, handwrite, or dictate your early drafts? Right?
Handwrite.
I know some students, like write stuff down and then type it up. That's
me.
Cool. Yeah, whatever you need.
It's like double. It's double though sometimes.
So
I
that's
feel like
the
it's
next
double
question.
the work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write it down. Double the work, but I gotta get used to just sitting there and going. I gotta get that. I'm not there.
Yeah, and it's hard in the beginning. It's kind of like learning to type. Like when you first learn to type, maybe you got just the one finger, going, you're just pecking your keyboard. And then you learn like the home keys and all that, and you can type a little bit faster, but before you know it, you're just typing without even looking down. All right, without even looking at the keyboard. All right. So is your practice helpful? Whatever you do, okay, do you think it's helpful? And in Word, you can Let me see if I can get this to work real quick. There was a problem. Oh, probably because I'm in a Zoom call and it's let's see. No, there's two sources using my microphone right now, so it's probably not going to let me dictate. But you can speak your papers into Microsoft Word, is what I'm saying. Like you do have that ability. All right, but whatever you do, like if you write it
Where's
first,
that at? Where's
say
that
what?
at?
Yeah,
Where's
just
that
click on
at?
this. Click on this microphone where it says dictate,
Okay.
and you can just speak your papers.
Oh, my. Whoa, game changer. Oh, it's over now. Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
Technology is our friend, man. Technology is our friend. All right. So whatever you do, type, write, dictate, is it helpful? All right. And then, did you compose your draft in one sitting or did you write it over the period of several days? Are you able to pace yourself or was the looming deadline a factor in motivating? Okay. Meaning like as the deadline got closer, your anxiety went up a little bit more, or did you kind of take your time? It's like, you know what, I'm gonna do a couple paragraphs today, do a couple paragraphs tomorrow, right? Or maybe sometimes you're feeling it and you do write the whole thing in one sitting. That's fine. Whatever you did. Okay. And then finally, what, if anything, about the process of writing your narrative essay draft brought the most anxiety or concern? Okay. What gave you the what gave you the jitters about this paper, if anything? Okay. When I was a younger student, I used to be just intensely nervous about my professors reading my work. Okay. And then just in life, I'd sometimes tend to be like an overthinker. Like I overthink things, and that would definitely apply to my writing. All right. But so it just took me a long time to get over that. All right. But pretty soon you just realize that it's kind of like public speaking, right? If you have apprehension about it, it's inevitable at some point in our lives, we're going to have to do some public speaking. So, and it's fine to be nervous, but I think like once we accept that, we have to do this. All right. Like many of you may have already had this experience where you go for a job interview and instead of a one-on-one situation, it's like you're interviewing with a bunch of people sitting around a table and they're just firing questions off at you. Okay. And if you have me for count two, right, there is some public speaking, meaning there's a presentation. Okay. All right. So think about it. Okay. What made you nervous in this draft, if anything? Okay. If nothing made you nervous, put that. All right. So make sure you address this discussion post, before we meet again. Get yourself signed up for a conference. And again, just remember, folks, when once you sign up for your conference, even though the Zoom link, it starts at 8:30, you only have to sign in. You only have to be signed in for your conference. Okay. But outside of that, that's all I got, folks. Okay. Last thing really was the last thing. Yeah.
all right.
Any other questions or thoughts before we get out of here? All right. So give me some time. I got a couple more classes today, but I will get this class uploaded and put into our Zoom module. All right. So have a good weekend, folks. It's